Hi, welcome to Gospel with Greg, and in the video today I'm going to be talking about signs of God in nature, and this is another video in my ongoing series about apologetics. Did my first three on topics relating to historical apologetics. This video is going to start videos covering scientific apologetics, and particularly this video will show the evidence for a creator, and that the creator is specifically the God of the Bible. So evidence for Christianity specifically in nature. And there are so many different signs of God in nature. And if we look at Psalm 102 verse 25, of old hast thou laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. That shows us that God created everything, and that would have us expect that there would be evidence of that there would be fingerprints of God, so to speak, in creation. And we certainly see that. The first example of that is diversity of nature. And when you think about it, go outside or look around the room you're in, there are so many different things to see and smell and taste and hear and feel. You have so many different colors and shapes of things. Some things are transparent, some things aren't. You can hear the sound, if you're outside, of the wind blowing on the leaves, or sound of rain, streams flowing, and different objects hitting each other. You can feel wind on your skin, feeling of water, things that are hot and cold, hard and soft, coarse and smooth, light and heavy, and thick fluids like tree sap and thin fluids like water. You can smell plants, smell animals, even smell the water sometimes that can have a certain smell. You can taste different things, fruits, vegetables, taste of meats of animals, taste of things we probably shouldn't eat. If you eat dirt, don't do that, but you'll certainly taste something. And so all this goes to show that there's a lot of diversity in nature, and we can even combine different things from nature to create some really amazing things. When you think about it, the money in your pocket, the keys to your home and car, and even the cell phone in your pocket they all came from creation. They're all things we made from the creation we have around us. And that's pretty spectacular that we live in such a diverse universe and a diverse creation that allows us to create those things. And there are so many different kinds of animals, water animals, land animals, and animals that can fly, and so many different species. And there's an estimate from a few years ago that the total number of animal species was about 8.7 million. And if you lined up an animal from every species on Earth according to this estimate, and counted every single one of them, counted one each second and never stopped, it would take you about 100 days or over 3 months to count them all. And that's just if you had one animal from each species and counted one every second. And so we can see God made nature very diversely, beautifully, and to where we can create very complex things with multiple parts from nature. And it's hard to believe that all this would just happen by itself. There's also the precision of Earth and space. Astronomers say that there are multiple factors that need to be just right for there to be life, and the Earth meets all of these factors. Distance of the Earth from the Sun. If we were further away, it'd be too cold for life. If we were too close, it would be too hot. So the Earth is just where it needs to be. So stars have something called a Goldilocks zone, where there is a certain distance from the star where life is just right, and that depends on the star and that kind of thing. And Earth is in the sun's Goldilocks zone. And so, of course, that works to our advantage to have life. Also, the tilt of the Earth is important, and that determines the seasons that the Earth has. And if the tilt of the Earth was different, that would have great effect on the Earth. The spin of the Earth is also important, gives us night and day. If we didn't have that, nature would be a lot more chaotic, and our sleep patterns could be very messed up by that. The size of the universe, the amount of dark matter, and the number of elements must be exactly what they are, or life could not exist. For life, we also need carbon, oxygen, liquid water, and food, and we have all of that on Earth, showing that the Earth was created and really designed to house life. And it's really spectacular when you think about that, of just how many things we rely on to be just right, and they are, for us to be here. We also see moral lessons from nature, and this kind of goes into the second part of this video of showing the Christian God specifically, because you may present that, the precision of Earth and space and the diversity of nature, and say this is evidence for a creator, for a God. And a skeptic, if you go into a lot of detail, they might grant you that and say, okay, well, you do have a point, but how does that prove the Christian God specifically? Wouldn't that just prove there was a God, maybe not necessarily yours? This is where these factors come in. The first is moral lessons from nature that tie into the Bible, lessons in the Bible. And so we can see that there are moral lessons ingrained in nature by God. And we know this to be true because Jesus himself pulled lessons about morality from nature. And so a specific example for you is found in Matthew chapter 6, verses 28 through 30. It says, this is Jesus talking, "And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you, that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith?" So Jesus used illustrations from nature to make points about morality and to give moral lessons. And we also can see another example in Psalm chapter 8, verses 3 through 4. It says, "When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him?" And so this passage from Psalm uses nature to talk about God's care and greatness. There's also signs of the Christian God specifically in the laws of physics. The laws of physics control what can and cannot happen in the universe. These laws keep things organized and include energy and matter not being created or destroyed. So matter can't just come into existence on its own, and you can't really destroy it. Matter just changes form. Nothing with mass can move at the speed of light. and that the universe is aging, so it ties into entropy. Those are some examples of the laws of physics. We can also see that there is a greater constant being, God, in order for our math proofs to have consistent answers and for formal mathematics to work. So that kind of ties into precision that I was talking about. And it was proven that space and time had a beginning, and that there was a force outside of space and time that was the force that drove creation forward. That was discovered by modern science, and even secular scholars will say that. This is exactly what Genesis chapter 1 says. These facts were established in the 20th century by physicists, the modern principles I discussed, and Genesis was written about 3,500 years ago, so very ahead of its time. Other religions report creation stories that really don't work with how the laws of physics work, and gods that created within the universe, and God's creation in Genesis fits being an outward force, a force outside of the universe. So the God of the Bible uniquely fits that, what we've discovered in that regard, about a force outside of the universe creating the universe, and that he didn't just create within space and time. The mathematical and physics evidence shows intelligent design and the creation of processes to sustain that creation's existence. And so this disproves chaotic theories of the universe being created, like the Big Bang Theory. And an issue with that as well is, so God is all-knowing, He's sovereign, He's all-powerful. So God is able to control these things. He's able to create nature, laws of physics and mathematics, those types of things to govern the universe, and able to create it whenever He wants. Well, if you believe, if you look at the Big Bang Theory model, there was an explosion, created the universe. They say 13.78 billion years ago. What would have made it happen at that time? Why not a trillion? You know, if it was a random thing that happened on its own, why not a trillion years ago? Or in reverse, why not just a billion? Why not just a million? You know, but God is sovereign, and He's able to control the when and how of those things. Lastly, there are Trinity references in nature. So I have a video on the Trinity. God is composed of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. And we can see this three-in-one nature in the world around us. So a universe has three big things: space, matter, and time. So essentially, space being the area, matter, what's in it, and time of what happens in it, the events, so to speak. So three main components, and then each of these three are three-in-one, because space is three-dimensional, length, width, and height. Matter is three-in-one, liquid, solid, and gas being the three common forms of matter. People talk about plasma and that kind of thing, but there are three common forms of matter. And then there's also time of past, present, and future, so that's three-in-one. And so God is also the motion and force to drive the universe forward. And there are three laws of motion established by Isaac Newton. And God said, let there be light in Genesis, and there are three laws of reflection and refraction. And so these are all examples of three-in-one nature. So if you run through that, God was the outside force that set the universe in motion. Three laws of motion, three-in-one. He said, let there be light when He was creating things, 3 laws of reflection and refraction, 3 in 1, created a universe with 3 main components, and each of those are 3 in 1. So we have overwhelming evidence here for the God of the Bible specifically. So overall, there are multiple signs of God in creation and nature, including the diversity of nature, the precision of earth and space, moral lessons from nature, the laws of physics, and signs of the Trinity in creation. Until next time, God bless.